Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. Story number 1. Human Auxiliaries, written by Adjutant Stormy. Rover sniffed and snorted at his new colleague, the lazy one, again wanting to play. Though different species, they still served at the pleasure of the big ones. As their home went new places, and his job was to find new smells, he loved finding new smells. And the big ones always rewarded him with scritches, or better, treats, when he smelled something they desired. He did not know the job of the lazy ones. She seemed content in grooming, and sleeping, and grooming some more. Sometimes the lazy ones would come back to their den smelling of, something. But then after the grooming, she smelled just like the lazy one again. Sarah thought that the slobberfest was filthy. He had only stopped stinking when the humans gave him a bath. Each time they landed and took the stinky one for a walk, he came back stinkier than ever. But Sarah guessed that was his role, being dumb and stinky. Sarah always noticed the tiny pests that crept in whenever they went somewhere new. She heard them, and she hunted them. The humans were obviously too stupid to hunt them themselves. Sarah would fix it for them, leaving her catch at their den as evidence of her prowess, or their incompetence. Stinky One would sometimes roll around on her catch and be admonished by the humans. That was often why he needed the extra bath. Sarah had learned the nooks and crannies and secret pathways in their home, mostly to avoid the Stinky One. Frequently, the new pests found refuge there, not immune to her hunter's prowess. With claws and teeth, she ended the tiny invaders. Rover had mixed feelings on the lazy one. She was surely loved by the big ones, but he never saw her chase or smell or carry a prize the big ones tossed away so carelessly. Maybe she did more than just groom and sleep. One day, the big ones were asleep, and the big noise happened. Their home shook, and Rover tried to tell the big ones. He tried to run to their den. But where there once was a path was a wall. He tried to tell the wall to go away, but the wall didn't listen. Sarah heard the detonation. Using the paths and pathways, she made her way to the human's den, except it wasn't there anymore. Walls had slammed down, and alarms were blaring. Sarah was annoyed and groomed a minute to recenter herself. It's probably a good idea to get the Stinky One out of wherever trouble they were in. She sidled up to the Stinky One, flicked her tail at him, and intimated for the dum-dum to follow her. She knew the quietest part of their home. Rover didn't speak cat, but if the lazy one knew a way, maybe he could get to see the big ones and get more scritches, or even better, some treats. Sarah led the Stinky One to her hidden lair, an actual escape pod, and smacked the Stinky One in annoyance. Rover was just so happy to be a part of this, tail wagging above the noise. He did not notice accidentally hitting the eject button. To his mind, the big grey mushroom in the lazy one's hideout. 2 days later, Sarah and Rover would be rescued, never to see the big ones again. But they met some new big ones, and they gave them all the scritches the Stinky One or Lazy One could ever need. Log of Corporal Samuels of the UNSC Bowler, Scout and Rescue Squadron vessel. We encountered the wreck of the UNSC Visage 2 standard days ago. One recorded escape pod ejection after the impact with an asteroid of unprotected orbit. We have chased down the pod. Of a crew of 2, we are happy to report 2 life signs aboard, moving to intercept. Taking the pod on board, we were greeted by one very enthusiastic canine and one very dismissive cat, but no humans. Command is considering retiring the 2 with full rank and honors for surviving the unfortunate surveying catastrophe. Already, my crewmen are all calling dibs. End of story. Story number 2. Why We Did It, written by Lieutenant General Fuckery. The entire Experimental Acquisitions Department was dead, and no one knew why. The EAD, now very much deceased Experimental Acquisitions Department, had been working on the same task they always had: conquest of alien worlds with minimal bloodshed. This often took the form of disruption of information networks, sabotage of key military targets, or even genetically engineered pathogens specifically tailored to incapacitate or pacify without killing. Very much not the sort of thing that could wipe out an entire department if it were to break containment. A team of investigators were quickly dispatched to find out exactly what had gone wrong. The reports came out, shook the entire Kajai Empire to the core, and ensured that no annexation fleet would ever arrive on the planet known to its inhabitants as Holy Earth. The early stages of the mission went smoothly, the crime scene analysis entering a small orbital station without incident, to find the entire place looking as though the occupants had simply stepped out for a coffee, perhaps from one of the terrestrial shops they seemed to have become infatuated with, though never visited. Just before the end, the computers were powered on, but in idle mode, the lights turned low, all desks organized, chairs pushed in. If there had been papers, they would have been stacked neatly by the workstations. The only indications that anything was wrong were the near absolute silence and the smell of decay. Of course, the investigators were wearing full environmental suits in case of an escaped pathogen, but their atmospheric scanners were advanced enough to identify Kajai corpse smell when they found it. One of the investigators gently touched a computer interface, and it lit up, showing a log of information network use by a group of humans helpfully gathered by the Kajai by human corporations, which simply didn't seem to care who they sold their information to. Another display monitored a few key network sites, from which the researchers had apparently been studying human behaviors, the better to influence them when the time came. Before the third display could be activated, one of the living Kajai let out a gasp. She had just found the meeting room that housed the corpses of every single researcher. Quick inspection revealed them to all be dead by apparently self-inflicted injuries, while the head researcher held a small portable computer, its display still blinking with 4-word header: "Why we did it." The chief investigator was summoned, and she wasted no time prying the machine from the owner's cold, dead hand. She tapped the display. The text spread itself across the screen. It read as follows: "It is with great sadness that we must report not only our failure to secure the planet Earth for the Kajai Empire, but also our complete failure as sapient organisms. We thought that it was possible to control the minds of the human population by manipulating their information networks, as the species relies on such more than any other that we've encountered. While our early tests showed positive results, we soon found that much of the groundwork had already been laid and promptly abandoned by the humans themselves. We assumed that with our superior technology and understanding of the minds of so many other sapiens, that we could succeed where they had failed. We were wrong. So very catastrophically wrong. We imitated their methods and information dissemination. We created templates that should have perfectly melded with their own. It was genius. It should have spread like wildfire and shaped the mind of every human who saw it to embrace the Kajai annexation fleet with open arms. We failed horribly. I know not how, but the humans show an incredible ability to detect even the most subtle deviations from the norm, and extrapolate incredible and, in this case, correct assumptions therefrom. They figured out exactly what we are and what we were after, and they counterattacked. I have never witnessed such vitriol, such violent disregard for another living entity in my entire existence. If our psychological attack was a knife, theirs was an indiscriminate artillery shell. Please, for the good of us all, leave the humans alone. Destroy this station and never return. They are worse than us in every conceivable way. Violent, sadistic, and possessed of something that we have no word for, that they call Schadenfreude. Knowing the power of such creatures, I must admit that I am in awe of their very existence. That they have not exterminated themselves can be nothing other than pure ill luck for the entire galaxy. Now, having not only borne witness to their powers, but been on the receiving end of the full force of their attacks, I speak for every member of the EAD when I say that I simply cannot continue to live. I pray whoever finds this message does not check our research. After everything we have been through, none of us have the heart to purge it, and simply destroy the station and all records of this infernal race with it. May God have mercy on us all. And so the would-be invaders fled. The station was scuttled, and the only remaining evidence of the whole affair was a few hundred megabytes of data left on a server somewhere on Earth. First, a collection of images of humans, all happy, all smiling, captioned with short notes about the better world under alien rule. Second, the responses that had been wiped out every living thing on the research station, all in two simple forms. Kill yourself, Xeno, and the Greys can't meme. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and patrons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Lord Azrakul, and Arcadian.